is a writer, poet, a metavisional reader, and a master meditation teacher who has taught integral meditation since 1983. George is founder of the Mudra Ashram Institute of Spiritual Studies. He is editor and publisher of the Mudra Ashram Publishing and has authored and published 19 print books and 14 ebooks. He is best known for his work as a spiritual cartographer for mapping the continuum of consciousness. He gives you the keys to unlimited spiritual growth. Take it away, George. You have to unmute.
Thank you so much, Sam, for the kind introduction. As Sam has said, I have studied meditation since 1965, and I've been studied all different kind of styles of meditation. I studied with four major spiritual traditions before I became a spiritual teacher. And if any of you are interested in finding about how I became a spiritual teacher, if you go to https://mudraashram.com and look under the About, and it says My Spiritual Journey, you will learn about the very meandering path through which I became a meditation teacher. And I have taught hundreds of people integral meditation since 1983. And Sam mentioned that I have several different books that I've written, and I wanted to share just for a moment here some of the books I've written. So this is the practical applications of meditation in daily life and education. And it is all about practical meditation, how you bring meditation into your daily life. Second book, this is one of my most popular titles. I'm just in the process of reprinting this one. It's called The Psychic Realm, Finding Safe Passage Through the Worlds of Illusion. So any of you are interested about psychic phenomena and psychic powers, this is a book you may like. One of you mentioned that you were in recovery. Well, this is a book specifically written for those of you who are in recovery. It's called Meditation for Recovery. And it was my first book I wrote. And it teaches 32 different meditation techniques that are very useful for you who are in recovery. Now, this is my newest book, The Path Across the Sky. And it's all about religions and cults, learning about the ego and spirituality, a lot of very interesting and deep essays that you may enjoy. Any of you who are counselors or therapists, I wrote a book called Meditation for Therapy, Theory and Application. And this is how there are meditation techniques that are helpful for working with emotional issues. And this is, one of you mentioned that you had a son who was trying to convert you into spirituality. Well, this is the book. It's called Religions, Cults, and Terrorism. And we talk about how you can, how people get converted, how they get stuck in these groups, how they recover, and what they need to go through for recovery. And the last, for any of you who are interested in our meditation system, this is one of my first books. It's called A Mudra Ashram Reader. And it is a book that gives you an overview of the many different systems that are included in our system of meditation. So we're going to talk today about the 5 stages of meditation experience and how you progress from the initial stage of mindfulness to the ability to transform the essences of consciousness to actively speed up the process of spiritual evolution. Now, the first thing I want to say is that when you're in your waking state of consciousness, you're here in the room, you're aware of the environment around you, you're in your waking state of consciousness. There are three cords that connect you with the deeper levels of the mind. The first comes through the heart, and that's what we call the cord of faith, or sometimes called the cord of faith and remembrance. The next thread, which is the one that we use in meditation, is at the point between the eyebrows. And we're going to teach you how to collect your attention at that center today. And then finally, there's the one that connects with the brain, and this is what we call the intuitive thread, or sometimes called the antakarana. Now let's talk about these threads, the cord of faith and remembrance. So when you use the cord of faith and remembrance, you are remembering through the heart a spiritual being. This could be your own higher self. It could be an angel. It could be a guide. It could be the Holy Spirit. It could be Jesus. It could be the Father God. But you're remembering that being. And then you are broadcasting your prayers to that being and then receiving the response. So those of you who have been involved in regular religions, will know that they teach you how to activate that cord of faith and remembrance. Now, the second is the thread of consciousness. So behind this point between the eyebrows center is a track that leads through all the levels of the mind. We call it the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the metaconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. Now, we're going to go into this in greater depth, but I want to say a little bit more about the third thread, which is the intuitive thread. And when you remember the nature of your soul and you ask it a question, and the soul is your, you can say it's your self that dwells in the higher realm. It's that aspect of your nature that has the seed of divinity within it. And so when you are connecting with it, you're asking a question, your soul will give you guidance. Now, meditation begins with the thread of consciousness. So this channel leads through all the levels of the mind. So the first level of the mind is what we call the conscious mind. So beyond this waking state of consciousness, the first, what we call a focal point. This is where your attention focuses. So imagine you're moving along a stream and then you lock in. This is a focal point. So the first focal point of the conscious mind is our awareness of our body's movement and position. And the second is our awareness of the senses. And this is the acute awareness of the senses. Many of you experience mindfulness, know that suddenly everything lights up for you and you're seeing everything much clearly, you're hearing everything with precision, you're tasting and smelling. On the third level, we get what we call the deep body awareness. And you are aware of what's actually happening inside your body. You're aware of your heartbeat, your breathing. You're aware of what's going on with your muscles and your organs. At the next level is our feeling center. And the feeling center is where we're aware of what we're experiencing in the present time, what we're feeling, and what's coming up for us. The next center is the mental center. And I always say this is kind of like a computer inside of you that's always operating and calculating and thinking about things and planning. And the next level is where we meet the ego. And the ego is the part of us that is embedded in our human life. This is the part of us that is living our life. And one of my ebooks, I talk about, I call it good ego, bad ego. And we talk about the functional parts of the ego, and then the parts of the ego that get a really bad rap in spirituality, our dark side. We all have earlier Mary Grace was talking about looping. Well, sometimes we loop into our dark side, and that part comes up. And then the next center of the conscious mind is what we call the preconscious. And the preconscious is the part of us that allows us to access our memories. And at the same time, sometimes this reservoir of memory of the subconscious mind will give us little gifts. Any of you who are writers or who are poets or who are getting inspiration, sometimes these ideas will just bubble up from the subconscious mind and give you tips. Now, the second band of the mind is what we call the subconscious mind. And the first level of this is our reservoir memory. I call it the temporal mnemonic zone. So this includes your present time in memory. It includes all of your life narrative going back to your first conscious memory, when you first said, oh, here I am in my life. Going back to what we call the personal unconscious, which is the part of you that was before your first conscious memory, up to the time of birth. This also contains all of your experiences in the womb to the time of conception. And then at the highest stage of this, there's the reflection of your soul, which is this consciousness inside of you that's able to look at all of your life from a detached standpoint. Now, at the next level, we encounter what we call, in our tradition, the system of chakras of the subconscious mind. And this is the native intelligence within you that allows you to operate. You don't have to think about things. It's sort of like this is working in the background and setting things up. So, for example, if you are giving a presentation to a group, your body will automatically posture you and will change your voice accordingly. You don't have to think about that. And this is operating through the subconscious mind. Also in the subconscious mind, we have the aspect of our nature that is active in hypnosis and certain types of meditation and in the dreaming state, which is called the astral body or the light body. Also in the subconscious mind is what we call the causal body. And if you can imagine, this is like an ever-burning flame. In the Zoroastrian faith, they keep an ever-burning flame. They always keep burning. Well, you have an ever-burning flame ever within you. And when you have issues, you can lay it upon that inner flame, and it will help you process through whatever it is you're carrying. Now, the next band of the mind is what we call the metaconscious mind. And this is the part of us that allows us to function as an adult. These are the executive functions of the personality. So this includes functions like our ability to make long-term commitments. This is what is called in the Western tradition, they call it the desire body. I like to call it the body of commitment. This is your ability to make a commitment to another person in a marriage. This is your ability to make a commitment to finish your education, to do what is necessary in your job for however many years you work at that job. It's also our persona. And the persona is the part of us that allows us to personify our different social skills. It gives us our sense of humor, our sense of saying the right thing to people in the appropriate time. And then we have the conscience, and this is the reservoir, the repository of our values, our moral standards. And this is the way we evaluate ourselves in terms of, are we living up to what we know is true? Also in the metaconscious mind, we have what we call the concrete mind. And this is the part of you that allows you to schedule, to plan, to capture key points, to set goals, and to notice how close you're getting to those goals. So this is the aspect of our mind that allows us to work. So it's a very, very important aspect of our mind. And the next part of the metaconscious mind, which we all are familiar with, is the intellect. And the intellect is the part of us that develops the ability to use writing and speech and mathematics and use analytical abilities and um, problem solving techniques. And the longer you spend in school, the more of these you learn. Then there's your personal intuition. And all of you probably had this experience of checking in with yourself. Well, I was having kind of a bad day today, and I'm going to check in with myself. I'm going to see what's happening. And this aspect of your mind also allows you to have empathy, to really sense what other people are feeling, what other people might be experiencing. And we have the ability to let them know you must be feeling really sad or really terrified right now. At the core of the self, at the core of the personality, of the metaconscious mind, we have the aspect of will. And will is the part of your being that allows you to make free choice. It's a part of you that guides your life. So when you make a decision at this level, it changes your life. One of you mentioned earlier about this being a portal for the 999. I wanted to let you know that we always have the portal to the 999 when we use our will, when we make a choice and we change our life. Now, at the very core of the personality is what we call the self. This is the human self, not the supreme self. And this is the part of us that is guiding our life, is directing our life. And so through the ability of using our will and the self, we can set the seeds to create success in our lives and to cope with all the issues that come up in our life. And at the very, very core of the metaconscious mind is a center that we call being. And any of you ever had the experience of dropping into being, you sense that you're just one with everything around you. There's no problems. Everything is Hakuna Matata, as they say in Africa. Everything is just right. Now, beyond that is what we call the superconscious mind. And the superconscious mind has several major levels. Now, the first is the subtle band of the superconscious mind, and this is a lot of mythic, um, our mythic world religions. Think about the East Indian civilization. Um, One of you was talking about the Tao Te Ching. That is the Chinese, comes from the Chinese world civilization, the Greco-Roman civilization, the civilizations of the Egyptians and the ancient Hebrews and those who dwell in Mesopotamia, the European religions of the Scandinavians and Germanic peoples, the Tibetan and Indonesian civilization, and our modern technological civilization. So if you say our life wave is moving right now as all humanity, we're moving through that level of the mind, of this subtle realm of the superconscious mind. Now, beyond that in the subtle realm, there's a realm we call the lower astral plane. And that is the realm where repository of our world's evil has come from. So one of you was remarking, you said that someone came in and defiled your Facebook page. And this is an example of someone who is acting from that level. They have no compassion, they have no understanding. They care only about themselves. And finally, at the highest level, this subtle realm, we have a mirror of all the stages of spirituality that are to come. Now, the next band of the mind we call the planetary realm. And in this realm, we have the mirror of the biophysical universe, um, our world vision of the Big Bang and the entire cosmos, the Darwinian scale of evolution going back to the very first one-celled animal, our connection with the earth, our connection with our ability to be parents and to care for our our children and our parents and those who are in our future. The next is the level what we call the abstract mind plane. And this gives us the ability to tap into our ability to control the body. For example, think about sports. We're in touch with our capacity to build models and to learn the teachings of science, to express ourselves creatively and artistically. Of philosophy, many of you have heard about the Akashic records, and this is a level in which we work out the deep issues that we are carrying with us in this life and from other lifetimes. Our ability to use the soul's thought and to begin to create, to bring our soul's vision into creation and to align with the universal laws. Then we talk about the psychic realm. Again, I've written a book about that, any of you are interested. And this is the realm in which you gain psychic powers, psychic abilities. You learn attunement, you learn to send the light to other people. You learn to connect with different spiritual guides. And beyond that is what we call the wisdom plane. And this is where you learn about the seeds that you plant in your life. Some seeds are good, some seeds are bad. You learn to root out those negative seeds. You learn about the laws of karma. And you learn about forgiveness and understanding. Next, we talk in the planetary realm about what we call the 5 planetary initiations. So in the first planetary initiation, which is divided into 3 parts, we have the religions that are expressed in the world. This is like Judaism, Catholicism, your evangelical Christianity, social justice Christianity, Kabbalah, the Essenes, and our world movement of democracy. And then we have the mystical aspect of spirituality, which is where we move through hell and purgatory and heaven, and we move up into the presence of the divine, and we gain the ability to become a saint. We begin to have the ability to send the Holy Spirit to other people. And at the deepest stage is where we find hidden beyond that inner horizon are the 12 mystery schools. And some of you have heard some of these mystery schools. You may have heard of the Freemasons, or you may have heard about the Rosicrucians. These are examples of some of the 12 mystery schools that exist. In the second planetary initiation, you activate a center that we call the mighty I am presence. And your form at this level is you are an angel. It's called the solar angel. And so you gain great power to decree and to speak the word. In the third initiation, you begin to tap into the thought streams of the great masters of love and wisdom. In Theosophy, Madame Blavatsky referred to them as the Mahatmas, the great souls, our elder brothers. In the fourth initiation, you tap into that great illumined mind within us. And in the fifth initiation, you awaken to your soul above all other levels. and you dwell in a sea of light. At the very top of the planetary realm is what we call the light of nirvana, and this is the light from which the soul was born. Now, the next band of development is what we call the transplanetary. And this is when we evolve as yet a greater essence within ourselves, which has been called the Paramatma or the monad. And this is another cycle of evolution. When we complete that aspect, we awaken to the next octave of being, which is called the cosmic sphere. And in this level, we have a being that has been called in Sanskrit the Hamsa Atma. We like to refer to it as the astral soul. And in this level, there are also 5 cosmic initiations. And the one that's probably most familiar to you, those of you who have been exposed to Vedanta and Kriya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga and even doing Hatha Yoga, it comes out of this first cosmic initiation where we experience Brahman. This is the highest stage. They talk about Brahman as being the culmination of spiritual development. But there are 4 stages beyond that. And this culminates in the vision of the cosmic hierarchy. Now, the next band of the continuum is what we call the supracosmic. And the supracosmic is I want to say it's a series of parallel paths. Everyone has exactly the same number of what we call nodal points, has exactly the same structure, but there is different content. And we have mapped 73 different paths up there. The different religions where they worship Lord Shiva, the religions where they look to Buddha, the religions where they look to Brahma, the wisdom religions of Shankaracharya and the Taoist and the Confucian, the religions where they worship Vishnu, and the Islamic religions, the Sunni and the Shia and the Sufi and the Baha'i, and the ancient Zoroastrian religion, and many of the great mystery religions that now have died out, and the Sikh religion and the Jain religion, all come down from this level. And each of us have an aspect of our nature that dwells in that realm. We call it the supercosmic soul. And so every one of us in this room, everyone on this call, has a supercosmic soul in one of these levels. And finally, the highest level is what we call the transcendental realm. And there are 8 paths up there, and our own tradition comes from one of those. So I want to say that the first stage of meditation is what we call mindfulness. So this is when you collect your attention and you become present in the present time. So I want to teach you a quick method to bring about this state of collection. So I want you to take a little sniff breath into your nostrils. This may be 2 fingers breaths. You're sniffing in the word Han and sniffing out Sa. Han, Sa. And as you do that, you want to notice your awareness opening in the body below. And when you feel you need to take a regular breath, go ahead and take a regular breath. And so what you'll find is that your attention becomes like a little ball. As you continue to breathe in that little ball, you become fully aware within. You become present and you become inwardly alert. And so when you can reach this stage of fully collecting your attention, then you become ready for the next step of meditation, moving along this cord of consciousness. So when we drop our attention into that cord of consciousness, we move along these centers that are in the conscious mind. So those of you not meditated before, we have a program called the Introduction to Meditation program where we train you how to move and contemplate these centers of the metaconscious mind, of the conscious, subconscious, and metaconscious mind. Now, at the next stage of meditation, we move into a state where we gain union with what I call the three immortal essences of consciousness. And this is the attentional principle. Now, the attentional principle is our inner consciousness that has the faculty of intention. It's able to receive information. It's able to contemplate. It's able to anchor suggestion. It's able to enter into the spiritual experience of another person. It's able to resolve and to manifest things. The next aspect is what we call the spirit. And the spirit is this loving heart within us, this essence that is able to share love and its devotion, and it's what's been called your higher emotionality. And this aspect of your nature, when we activate it, it taps you into caring and compassion for other people. You really feel a connection with those who are suffering and those who are spiritual beings. And then finally, we have the ensouling entity or the soul. And this is the aspect of your nature that is the self of your superconscious mind. And this has access to the faculty of unconditional love, to all the knowledge that you've opened up to your current stage on the path, and all the abilities that you've developed in the superconscious mind. And we teach about this in our intermediate programs. This is the in-person, the master course in meditation. And then we have a online version of this called the Accelerated Meditation Program. It's a self-study format. Now, in the fourth stage of meditation, you learn to use the attentional principle to perform inner work on the personality and to tap into the superconscious mind. So again, we also teach about this. We teach 10 different major systems of meditation in our intermediate class. We teach you about how to center. We teach you about how to awaken the energy that substands your awareness. It's called the Kundalini. We teach you how to tap into the spiritual heart and to begin to travel back to the divine. We teach you how to activate the light fire within to draw down the spirit, to actually unfold the soul. We're going to talk about that briefly. We show you how to travel as the attentional principle to actually move up into this superconscious mind. We show you how to bring about that state of balanced development that allows you to not live in a mystic state or to abandon your spirituality, but to live in harmony with your deepest nature, to keep everything in alignment. We teach you how to tap into that intuitive thread. We teach you how to draw upon the light fire within yourself to energize your body and to work with issues. And we teach you how to keep in touch with your inner sense of truth. And so the fifth stage of meditation is when we generate transformation for the ensouling entity, where we accelerate spiritual evolution and we lead the spirit to spiritual liberation, which has been called spiritual salvation. And these are the core techniques we teach in our intermediate meditation classes. So let's think about the difference between personal transformation and spiritual transformation. All of you have seen the ads. You see this person who is overweight, they're very unhappy, they're frowning, and then they do a program, and then all of a sudden they're wearing their bikini and they're smiling and they're having fun. And they say, well, look what happened. They lost all this weight and now they're happy. This is personal transformation. And most of the sales literature, most of the advertisements are all trying to promote some type of personal transformation. But spiritual transformation is when you actually move from where you are, where your soul is right now, and you move along this track that it dwells. So what happens is that when you use a transformational method, if you ever taken a magnifying glass and you focused it, you see that the light of the sun will actually burn. Well, we draw down this fiery energy to actually burn this material that's in the unconscious mind, this substance of the unconscious mind, which is what they call karma in the East. We refer to it as karma. And when that takes place, when you burn up this karma, the soul actually moves. So you're actually moving forward in your spiritual evolution.
George, you
Yes.
have 10 more minutes
Yes.
before the end of the presentation. If you wish to open the floor for questions, that's up to you. That's all.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about some of the methods by which you can achieve spiritual transformation. So in our tradition, we use a mantra, and this is a word that carries the light and actually allows you to awaken at that level. It actually burns the karma and moves your soul forward. Now, when we talk about karma, if any will think about the area of your mind that is filled with light, and behind it there is this darkness. And I often say, take out your measuring tape and put it through that darkness and reach out and see, where does that darkness end? Where's the end of that darkness? And you'll see that that darkness is very great indeed. But when you use a transformational method, you actually begin to turn that into light. You remove the dross that's in there. You redeem what's in there. You gain the gifts and the knowledge and the virtue that's present, that's buried in that unconscious, and it becomes a part of you. Now, other methods that do this are what we call grace bestowing light. It's sometimes called Shaktipat, and that's where a master can meditate on you and basically move you along the path. Many of you heard of Kriya Yoga, which is a form of transformation that works in the transcendental sphere. I'm sorry, in the cosmic sphere. And then Nada Yoga, which operates in the transcendental sphere to actually unfold the unsouling entity. Now, normally it takes us about 11 or 12 years to just wear through the karma to the next nodal point. But when you have a transformational method, you can actually do the transformation of many, many lives in one life when you have this key. And again, this exponentially accelerates your spiritual evolution. So we talk about the great masters of love and wisdom. Well, they went through this entire development process. But for you to move to your own mastery and your own mastery in this life, you can actually gain these methods by which you can begin to speed up your spiritual evolution. Now, any of you who want to learn more about our programs and get a complimentary general reading of your current stage of spiritual evolution, you can schedule a complimentary spiritual discovery session with me. So go to our website, buddhaashram.com, and go under the Contact Us link, the Contact Us menu tab, and you'll see Contact Us. And on that, there is a checkbox, and you can check the spiritual discovery session, and then you can schedule something with me. And I will answer your questions at that time. We'll find out a little bit more about you, and maybe we can give some recommendations for what is appropriate for you for your next steps for spiritual development. So that's what I have to say today. I want to thank everyone for listening to me, and I want to thank Samuel and Mary Grace for inviting me, and so we call in the healing light, and we call in the blessings of the masters, and may it help you resolve whatever the issues are in your life, and to move forward in the next stage in your life and in your spirituality. And so be it.
Are there any questions before you have until 10 minutes of the hour that are available. So would you like to entertain questions?
Sure. If anyone wants to ask me a question, you may.
Do we have any questions for George Boy? Ruth Brody Sharon.
Yes.
Good morning, George. Thank you so much for your wisdom. I was listening to you and thinking that the different forms of schools of meditation are similar in some way to the different religions. They all have their guidelines and I would say principles, central principles. And so do you find that the people who come to study with you come because they don't feel that their religions are helping them in that realm? And that is it. What do you think is the main reason why a person would come to meditation as how should I say, maybe a relief from religious dogma? And how does it sounds almost like you explained it almost like if I would go to a cafeteria and try to decide which of all the offerings of the delicious plates that I see are best for me. Isn't it confusing also to even choose a meditation from all that?
Well, Ruth, I wanted to say that during the aspirant stage of meditation, this is when you become a seeker. The objective when you are an aspirant is you are to try on many different things and get exceedingly confused. I often say it's like dating. You date a lot of different people, but then finally you settle on one. You say, I'm getting married to this one. I'm keeping this one. So it's the same thing that happens during the aspirant stage of spirituality, that you look at different things. Now, in terms of people being dissatisfied with religion, well, people reach a stage in their inner maturation where they're not satisfied with simply belief systems and doctrines. They want to have a direct experience. And the people who come to us are those who have reached that stage. They say, I want to have a direct experience. If there's something like God, I want to see him. I want to hear him. I want to smell him. Okay. If there's something like higher planes, I want to go there. I don't want people to describe heaven. I want to go there in full consciousness. And when people reach that stage of their personal and spiritual maturation, then they seek out groups like mine.
Okay.
Wouldn't they also do that through the use of drugs to experience all those things you mentioned?
Well, on my blog, if you go to my website on my blog, there's actually an article about where we talk about psychedelic drugs. So a psychedelic drug will basically blow your attention out of your waking state and pull you somewhere into the inner planes. You have no control over the experience. If you're lucky, you'll land and you'll discover your soul and you reach a state of harmony. If you don't, you'll have a hellish, nightmarish experience that you'd wish you'd never done. I have several friends who played around with those in the 1960s, and they become psychotic. Their lives are gone.
Okay.
Anything that you can do with a drug, you can do in full consciousness when you learn to meditate.
Okay.
Learn to meditate. Any place you can go on the inner planes with the drug, you can go that same place in full consciousness in meditation.
Do we have time now for one more question for George Boyd? Our time's running short. Anyone else have another question? Anyone else? Because we're right at the edge. It's now right at 8:50. So I would like to, this has been an extraordinary presentation for me in any case. It's just, I don't know if we've ever had an expert talk about all these different levels of meditation. So I would like the group to formally say thank you to George Boyd for this extraordinary presentation. And Mary Grace will be sending out your information. You'll be giving to her and emailing it to everyone. So everyone will have access to what you've presented today. So thank you very much, George Boyd, for what you've presented to us today. And with that, I'm going to pass the floor to Mary Grace.